How are you? It's Dennis from the Australian Rock Show.
Good, thanks. How are you?
Very, very well. Firstly, I guess as someone who gets sent lots of music, the album Tales of Torment is a standout and just the kind of stuff we dig. Every song on this new album is strong, so congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, I have got you on the show to look over the brand new album, Tales of Torment, 12 supercharged songs on a record which is reaching folks far and wide. Explosive is a great word to describe it, and judging by some of the positive feedback from fans I've read online, you've really come up with something that's, fast winning new fans. Can you tell me about the making of Tales of Torment and how things have been for the band over the past 12 months?
Okay. Well, apart from recording the album, which we did probably exactly about 12 months ago, the band hasn't been doing anything. We've been on an unwanted hiatus thanks to COVID. But so we recorded Tales of Torment in a studio called Sauna Studios in Collingwood. It took us I think we did it over 12 days. So the guys would track everything, typically starting in the morning and track all day. They did most of the tracking. Was pretty impressive, and then I would come and do vocals at night. Do you have anything to add, Graham?
Just lots of beer. That helped the recording process.
Graham had to go sober for like 3 months after we made the album because he drank so much he felt crazy.
Yeah, that's the recipe in making a convincing rock record, though. You got to be drunk as hell while you're doing it.
Yeah.
Well, you won't have heard it just now, but we before this interview, we aired the song Ready to Die. I think that's the first single, which is an absolute monster. How did that one come about, Ready to Die?
That's one that I wrote on guitar because I'm not as a proficient guitar player as the fellas in the band, but I do play guitar enough to be able to write a song to then pass over to them. So, a lot of the kind of love songs or whatever, or, being angry at a partner or something, those type of songs on the record, it's quite fictional because it's I've been married to Graham for 5 years, but it just came from, I just got the idea for the song because somebody, a friend of mine, was talking about not being over their partner, and they'd think that they'd be okay, and then they'd get kind of all ready and dressed up to go out, and then the second that they saw their face, they'd just feel like dying. And then, I don't know, that just stuck with me, and I wrote a song about it, unbeknownst to them.
The music, obviously thank you for explaining the lyrical content or some of the inspiration there, but musically out of the blocks, it just, bam, it just hits you. Was that the intention to put, would you say that's the strongest song on the album, to put it first?
I guess it was kind of the one we all collectively thought was the strongest if we made it the first single, but I like all of them. It wasn't really the clear, it wasn't
Stonesy.
Yeah. It's like Boogie, it's catchy, but it's not like we all unanimously went, yes, that's definitely the single. There was a discussion about it, and there were some other strong contenders. So, yeah, I'm glad you like it, though.
I like a lot of them, and a couple of them I am going to highlight before we finish up. But I am hoping you can give us some band history today. I believe that the band formed from a Blue Oyster Cult tribute you were in some time back. Had that just run its course and it was time to do original music?
Well, I just don't think we were really as dedicated as other, professional tribute bands are. We weren't really on that circuit. We just kind of did it for a laugh. So it just naturally, we don't really come from a background of all doing cover bands or tribute bands. We just kind of did it, for a laugh. So it seemed, the natural next step for us to just do a proper band because, that's kind of more what we're all about. But, learning all of those Blue Oyster Cult songs probably locked us in to playing together well because they're hard. Would you agree, Graham?
Yeah, I'm a huge BOC freak. I love their whole catalog, especially their first 5 albums. But, I've seen them in concert like 15 times. I'm an uber obsessed fan. So to me, it was just fun as hell to play those songs, you know?
Harriet, how did you get into rock and roll?
I mean, like, my dad's a drummer. He listened to a lot of rock and roll when I was growing up. Like, one of my first jobs was working at a record store. So, I don't know, I just always liked it. I mean, I listened to kind of like a lot of daggy, like, nu metal and like punk and emo sort of stuff growing up. And then I guess when I hit about like 18 or 19, I just got into like heavy metal and punk. And I don't know, just started buying more rock records and going to more shows, meeting more people. And I guess it was just your classic, you know, immersion into being a rock fan.
And Graham, your musical history, I believe, has been quite a journey, and indeed we could devote an entire episode to just you and your music. I believe you've done time in many outfits such as Annihilation Time, Dusty Skull, Fields of Fire, Lecherous Gaze, which you were guitar tech, I believe, for Jay Mascis at one time. Over the years, you've done a lot of touring as well. You didn't start playing guitar until you were 20, correct? And switched from drums.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, you know, I was a drummer at first, and then I still really dig the drums. I feel like there's like a constant drum solo going on in my head at all times, you know. But I just found it a bit limiting. You know, it's hard to be like creative. You can't really write a song being a drummer, and it's a pain in the ass hauling your drums around all the time. So guitar was just like the natural thing. You know, you can sit around in your room when you're a kid. Well, not a kid, 20, I guess. And just like rock out to like 3, 4 a.m. And it was just seemed a lot easier. And you could, you know, go a lot more places playing guitar creatively. So that's how I got into it, really. And
I believe you toured Australia with Lecherous Gaze, is that correct?
Yeah, we did 3 tours actually.
Okay.
Before I moved here.
Okay.
So yeah.
Looking back on that experience as guitar tech for Jay Mascis, what did you take away from that?
Oh man, I learned a ton of stuff from doing that. Just because that guy is a next level OCD obsessive freak when it comes to like getting his guitar rig sounding huge and big, and I stole all kinds of tricks from him. Really, yeah, just how to set your amps and effects and just all kinds of different techniques on just making it unpleasantly loud, which I really dig. Louder the better. I feel like a lot of bands nowadays, they use these tiny little amps, and I think you got to really move molecules to get to really, I like seeing a band where it just punches you in the chest, and that's kind of Jay's whole vibes about just like, head-splittingly vomitous loud guitar, and that's what I dig.
I read just before I called you that one of your guitar heroes, among many, was Robin Trower. I had a bunch of his records. I had Victims of the Fury as a teenager, among a host of stuff. So it's clear. Where were you born and raised? Was it San Francisco?
Oh, I was born in Mississippi.
Okay.
But then my more formative years were California. Like I grew up near LA, but I spent a lot of time in the Bay Area, and Trower's huge. I lived in the Bay for like 12, 15 years, but Trower's huge up there, man. Like people go nuts for him. He's always played on the radio. He's got all the, Bay Area, like kind of like metalheads, older guy, the older metalhead guys were, they were born, raised up there, and they're all grew up obsessed with Robin Trower, Pat Travers, Frank Marino, Mahogany Rush.
Yeah. Love
that
all
whole
stuff.
vibe, and it gets a lot of, it gets heavily neglected nowadays, but yeah, I love all that stuff, man.
Well, just looking through some of your history and the stuff you've done, it's fairly evident that all that wealth of experience you've been able to put into Rot TV.
Oh, well, that's cool. Yeah, I try not to be derivative so much, but definitely I've been obsessed with all this old rock and roll stuff forever, and it definitely leaves its fingerprint on, everything I play and, stuff I'm interested in, for sure.
Okay, let's go back a couple of years back. I think the band issued the single FDA and Transylvania Nights. I can hear quite a progression from that release to some of the tunes on the new record. What do you credit that to?
Time and money,
okay.
I think. Because we, when we made the single, it was kind of like our engineer, Rob, who now plays guitar with us, I think he had a cancellation or something. So he was like, if you guys want to record, I'll do it cheap. Come in and you have 2 days or something. Whereas we got a grant from the city of Melbourne, and that kind of bought us more studio time, and we could kind of, I guess we didn't really have anything else going on in our personal lives because of the pandemic. So we could actually dedicate just a huge chunk of time to getting it right. I'm really proud of the single. I love the way it came out. And, I think it kind of stands alone as its own thing. It's a bit more punk or whatever. But yeah, I agree that the album probably sounds, you can probably tell it was more thought out.
Before I talk about a couple more tracks on the album, I do want to mention the wonderful cover art as well, painted by Chris Grande.
That's right.
Yeah, really, really suits the, I guess, riff-heavy horror rock, you guys are projecting.
It's an ice mummy. It's
Yeah, they found this mummified dude, 100-year-old mummified guy, somewhere in Siberia or something, and our buddy just painted it one night.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Now, the album is issued via TP Records out in New York. An obvious question is, how did you come onto their radar?
Well, a bunch of I've been putting records out on TP for the last 15 years.
Okay.
So we put out all my old bands and tons of stuff. So I've been sort of I have really good relationship with those guys, and I just pitched them I just sent them the record. I'm like, hey, what do you guys think about this? Is it something you'd dig? And then they're like, sure, we'll put it out. They've been putting out a ton of my bands forever, so it was kind of a surefire.
Obviously, the connections you've got there, and I also know from reading fan comments online that the band are making inroads outside of Australia. I mentioned, Brad, one of our listeners from Detroit, who was digging the record and reminded me that it was out. With all that in mind, are there any plans to do some shows in North America and maybe Europe this year?
It just depends on if we get a good offer, but we haven't gotten anything juicy. Well, we're not itching to make tons of money or whatever. But if we could get some plane tickets and make it worth a while and don't have to pay out of our own pocket, send them offers in. We're into it.
Yeah,
we want to rock.
Yeah.
I will literally play anywhere if somebody pays for my plane ticket.
Love it. All of the material on this 12-track album is filled with, I would say, fiery riffs and great songs, but the track Goodbye is one which stands out for me. That's the one we're going to close out this interview with. Lots of melody, and I just love the way it just kicks into gear about 15 seconds in with these lyrics. You had wandering eyes and a touch gone cold. Had me hooked straight away. What can you tell us about Goodbye?
That is another one that I just wrote from somebody else's perspective after they broke up with someone and were having a really hard time, and they were staying with me. I think.
Who was that person?
I can't say.
Oh.
So I think I really scorned ex-lover songs and also love songs and stuff like that. But it's when you've been happily married for 5 years, it's not like you have all this inspiration of your own. So it's you'll be consoling somebody through something that they've gone through, and you're like, oh, I could probably write a little ditty about that. And then in terms of just general feelings of horrification and anxiety and stuff, a lot of that is authentically from me. But anything to do with relationships, it's typically just from a friend or something I saw on TV or read in a book or something.
Yeah, any of the lyrics I ever contributes just all about like either monsters or like vampires or like aliens or Satan or something. I'm more into that side.
Yeah. Well, Graham actually wrote the lyrics to Transylvanian Nights, the B-side of the single that we put out in 2019. So that I think that's the only song that I didn't write. I don't think I wrote any lyrics to that song. He just kind of handed it over, and I was like, okay. Well, I love it.
I guess everyone will have their own personal favourites on this album, but for me, Goodbye really stood out. And as I mentioned at the very start of the interview, I get sent the volume of music I get sent is insane as a podcaster, but you know, some of this stuff when I heard it, it's just head and shoulders above other stuff. So that's why
wow.
Now, the band I note have some live shows coming up, which I wish to mention. The album launch is taking place this Friday, the 11th of March, at the John Curtin Hotel in Melbourne, and there's the 3-day Boogie Festival in mid-April as well. There is also a great take of the Kinks. The Kinks, I'm Not Like Everybody Else on here. Dare I say, one of the most inspired takes since Jimmy and the Boys burned through it back in '79. Is Ray Davies an influence, and how did that one end up on the record?
Okay, so we all really like the Kinks, but I think it was just the only song we could all agree on, because I guess technically that is the first single off of the record, because it was part of the Festival Rising single club. So they actually commissioned that single, and then our label were happy for us to kind of do that, you know, as its own thing on the side. But yeah, so the singles club thing that Rising did, they were all cover songs. So like Amel and the Sniffers did that like disco song, Born to Be Alive. There are a bunch of others. And then, yeah, we just could not agree on a song. Like, there were so many thrown around. And then finally someone suggested that, and it was the only song that all of us were like, oh, yeah, great idea, we'll do it.
I wanted to do Hawkwind.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, because I love Hawkwind.
No, didn't you want to do that punk band? Didn't you want to do Aggression?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Have you ever
I was trying to do a Venom song, I think, at one point, and everyone was just like, there's no way.
No. Have you heard the Jimmy and the Boys version from 1979?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
it's good.
It is. Rot TV, Tales of Torment, is out now. You can find them on Facebook, and, of course, buy the new album by heading to rottv.bandcamp.com. Harriet and Graham, future plans. What else do the band have on the horizon for 2022? Any interstate gigs coming up?
Hopefully. We have a big show in June that's not announced yet, but we're supporting an international band that is pretty sick.
Great.
So,
Great.
Yeah.
Guys, thanks for coming on the show today. Top to bottom, the new album is an absolute monster. Congratulations again, and good luck for the rest of the year.
So glad you love it, and just glad that it's kind of, you know, we're kind of getting hit up by all sorts of new people.
And thanks for just being into cool old rock, because nobody's into that shit anymore. So it's nice talking to an older bloke like myself that's into stuff like Robin Trower, you know?
You too. Have a great rest of the weekend, and keep in touch.
All right.
You too. Catch
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.